we'll start the mid-year updates, January 13th at 8:15 a.m. and we'll kick it off.
Thank you, Commissioner Crawford. Thanks again to everybody for being here for day 2 of mid-year presentations. I just want to kind of restate quickly my opening remarks from yesterday. These mid-year presentations are an important touch point for us to assess department progress, identify new or ongoing challenges, monitor budget performance, and enhance transparency and accountability. The mid-year presentations also provide an opportunity to help create a foundation for our upcoming conversation about goal setting for the board's goals and priorities for fiscal year 27. So again, just some questions to keep in mind as we listen to the mid-year presentations this year. Do the board's goals remain the right goals given the realities and opportunities we're facing? Are these emerging challenges? Are there emerging challenges, cross-departmental themes or innovations we should focus on or scale? And how well are we aligning resources, policies, and service expectations with what matters most for the Crook County residents? This morning, we're going to kick it off with the fairgrounds. Casey Daly is here to make that presentation. And with that, I think we're ready to start.
Okay, good morning. Casey Daly from the fairgrounds. Here we go. Goals and priorities. Our number one goal has been for the last several years is securing some stable funding from the state legislature. I personally have been involved in the last 15 years in trying to secure funding and additional funding out of the lottery dollars that we received. Last year, I think we got pretty close. However, we didn't make the mark, but we did make a small mark in the governor's budget, and we did get a little bump in our lottery dollars that we do receive now from $50,000 to $80,000, which we're, thankful for. But we'll get back at it. I know the short session starts here pretty quick, and we're going to get back at it pretty quick. So, prioritize deferred facilities maintenance. The fairgrounds proper is over 100 years old, and some of the buildings are quite aged. Terry Foster Hall was built in the 70s, and it's showing its age. So it is a challenge to keep everything running and rodent-free and warm and comfortable for everybody. So we're working on that. The other goal is to expand the event base. In the wintertime, we do have some downtime. It's not a time we use that's used specifically, so we filled it with holiday things and holiday partnerships. So we're proud to be part of that program. Completed or currently in process is the outdoor arena grandstands project. The aisleways and the strap supports are aged, and so we've got a project going on. We're taking care of all of that. We're doing a site prep for any future building that we can have. We partnered with the city, and we're able to take some material out of the Barn View project and bring it over to the fairground at no cost. So it's my labor to do it. And so we're building a pad for any future building projects that we might have. There was a project that was citizen driven that we thought we could put together, but one of the stumbling blocks was this building pad that they couldn't afford. So we look forward to getting that done. The indoor arena bathrooms are currently showing their age, and we are on a plan right now to get those fixed and replaced. Been working with Commissioner Hemrick and the county attorney to try to get that process kicked off. So we're working on that. For the fiscal year next year, indoor arena installation project we'd like to get kicked off. That's probably one of the well-used buildings right now, and it's a challenge to heat in the wintertime when we have the St. Charles Hospice auction and events like that. So Rebuilding the paddock area. We did build the new jockey room, so the paddock area is next on our sign. I have a caretaker that's walking around in when his cart broke down, our carts were donated from Facebook. Parts are no longer available, so we need to get him taken care of. The LED sign in Pioneer Park that we control is about 15 years old at this point, and some of the pixels and things are not acting very good, so we'd like to get that done and get the pavilion tent panels replaced. I will say that the $2 million grant that we received several years back is dwindling down. We've kind of gone through some of that, so that is coming to an end. Challenges and impacting core services once again is funding, and that is the major goal, to get back to the state legislature. And it is not just for county, it is a statewide problem. They all recognize that fairgrounds are a lot of things to a lot of different people. And in an emergency, we get called on. We become a clinic, the blood drive, the evacuation center. But they all love it, but nobody wants to fund it. So that's a challenge. And so we're challenged with some of that. We've reduced the fair budget by 40% last year. That was in a combination of cutting back on services that we provide at fair. In addition to the community partners, we went to the 4-H leadership, 4-H itself, and the FFA, and asked them to take on a lot more costs that we have typically and historically taken on. They did that with a smile on their face, which I'm very grateful for, but it took a little bit of a load off of us. Thank you to Commissioner Hemrick. She was also involved in that process. So my budget is cyclical. It goes with our seasons. And so we spend more in the summer and in the fall than we do in the spring. So we had a fair board meeting last night and talked about fair, and hopefully we can make some of this stuff. If there's any questions, I'd be honored to answer.
You might want to mention you had a carnival last year.
We did. We have a carnival again this year. I would like to say it was all a lot of hard work on my part, but I think I was in the right place at the right time. He didn't have a spot on. Did try to talk him into a 3-year agreement. We're working on agreement number 2, year 2 right now. So he will be back. It does challenge us because it takes half of our parking lot up. So we have to figure out how to park people in other spots, but the community seemed very, very grateful for it. And so we're looking forward to that this year. So.
As a highlight, I know all the kids had to tell me how many times they rode the zipper. So that was like a badge of honor or something. So that was kind of exciting. And I think it brought more people to the fair and more awareness.
And we were able to get Grant County the following weekend with the same carnival. So, and I know she hasn't had a carnival in 20 years. That's cool. So she's very, very grateful for what we've tried to put together. I literally got a call on Tuesday before fair and walked the grounds with the guy, and he was there Wednesday, and fair opened on Wednesday. So that's how we cut it that short.
This whole big black hole of deferred maintenance.
Yes.
It includes, congratulations, I hear you're getting all the planks and the boards and everything up so that the folks will be happy sitting in the grandstands with it. Talk about this worn out roof and some of the other big items. And I almost feel this like a chicken and an egg thing. It's like, if you don't fix this, you can't have these events to get more revenue, but you can't have more revenue until you fix it. I mean, there's a couple of big numbers. Can you kind of, on the deferred maintenance that's just going on, can you really speak to that?
Sure. So Kerry Foster Hall in the indoor arena and what we call the Rabbit Barn or Grizzly Mountain Pavilion are the 3 buildings that get rented the most. Terry Foster Hall is 5,000 square feet. It really is not large enough anymore to host some of the larger things in town. So we go into the indoor arena and we're able to roll the floor flat. Our biggest challenge with the indoor arena is the roof leaks. It's just corrugated metal, and then we can't heat it. And then when you do heat it, especially with propane, it makes its own weather in there. Propane has a lot of water in it, and so they put these giant propane heaters at each of the end of the arena, and then they're pumping that stuff into the. So we get to a situation where there are just water droplets coming off all of the pipes and everything that's above hand. So essentially what we would suggest is replacing all of the insulation, fixing the roof, and then doing some kind of high-vax system that we could heat the arena with, preferably not propane. So it doesn't
Have you
create
ever
that.
thrown a number onto that?
Yes, we have, and it's somewhere close to $1 million.
And what's the square footage of that facility?
It's about 18,000 square
So
feet.
it's literally 3.5.
Yeah, it's a huge. It accommodates a lot of folks. Most of you have been to events there. But don't wear your high heels and you can put a lot of lipstick on the pig, but it's still a horse barn at the end of the day right now. So Kerry Foster,
$1 million make it more than a horse barn? In terms of
I think to get to a par would be to maybe do a concrete floor on there and have dirt that they bring in and out, similar to what the Chutes does. And I think we would be close to that.
Didn't you lose a lot of events to the Chutes over the years?
We have over the years lost a lot of events to the Chutes, and it has to do with size more than the facility, I believe. We're not comparable as far as what we're charging for our arena that the Chutes does, so I'm not sure it's all cost driven. But we do host the hospice auction, and there are large kickoff parties. We have dog events in there. We've got dances, quinceañeras. We do it all. Kerry Foster Hall is probably coming to the end of its serviceable life. You start peeling back some of the onions, and there are some termite damage and things that are probably not as pretty as public would like to see. But it's still functional. We keep it running the best we can with what we have. Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Casey.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
All right, next up, we have community development. John Eisler, the community development director, is here to present for that department.
Good morning, Budget Committee. Thank you, Will. As you said, my name is John Eisler. I'm Community Development Director. This is our mid-year update. I'm going to try to keep it brief so we stay on schedule. Key priorities and goal alignment. Getting our comprehensive plan updated is huge for our department, for the county. It is the framework upon which all planning is based. Our current comprehensive plan was last updated in 1978. I think reflects the current status of development or the market or where we need to go. And so we are, I think there's more coming up. I'll speak to that a little bit. Fee updates are also huge as we are a fee dependent department. We kept fees stable for a long time, or for a couple of years, and we kind of got behind the curve with inflation that hit and personnel costs. We increased it by, I think, 5% last year on most things. But we want to make sure that the fees reflect costs and the fees allow us to staff appropriately so we can serve the public like we do too. And then finally, cross training, as we have a big department with a lot of specific roles. Helping someone's gone, doing something We've been trying to work hard to cross-train our staff, so when someone's gone, someone can step in and fill the role. One of the important notes there is one of our techs, Ashley Leslie, is been accepted into and is now studying to become an inspector. So that's going to be neat. So we're on the other side. Completed his plan. So we had our transportation systems plan. It's a large 20-year planning document that we've been working on for multiple years. That was finished this summer. Pretty pleased. There was a lot of public input, a lot of amendments kind of made at the end, but I think it's a good plan and it will help provide the framework for us to move forward, hopefully to help fund some infrastructure is desperately needed in Crook County. We had our Department of Defense Military Comprehensive Plan Amendment that we finished this summer as well. That was through a grant from the Department of Defense that basically just make sure that there is proper notification and mitigation for any projects that are under that overlay where they are flying the training routes, so we don't disturb national defense. So the fee update was completed fiscal year. We're going to be doing another one next fiscal year. I think it's going to be a yearly thing. Randy, our building inspector, told me that we did 5,000 inspections since July 1st. And we have a new data center that's being constructed. Two large apartment complexes are some of the main things of the building. And 98% of those inspections were completed by the next business day, despite staff issues. Currently in progress, so we started work on the Transportation Safety Action Plan. That was before the federal shutdown and the changes in staffing there. We have been trying desperately to contact the new grant representative, but he has been hard to contact. And so we kind of have that project on pause until we get confirmation from them. We should continue moving forward. Code updates, we have a pretty big code update we're in the middle of right now. Those are passed via ordinance, and so we had the first reading last week. The next reading will be a week from tomorrow. We have more code updates coming behind that. We got the Hidden Canyon Destination Resort application we are currently processing. That is over on the south side of Palo Butte. It will eventually be a multi-thousand unit destination resort. This first phase is for 225 units, but it's still a really big deal and will become hopefully a great asset to the county. And it's front of mind for me. We have a hearing on Wednesday. Seen the signs. There's a cell tower trying to go in Palo Butte, and it's got a lot of public interest. And it's a very complicated technical land use application. We're currently working through that. Where I came over here, I want to get back.
Were you able to put together the information for them that a lot of this is outside of our hands and it's a federal to be able to share with
Put together information for whom? For the
public?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I don't know how much news you want to get down to, but so there's when the statute's written, the way the statute's written, they need to prove that the cell tower needs to go on farm ground, that it can't go anywhere else. And so that's what we're making them prove. We have the neighbors have hired some experts, which is critical to rebutting expert testimony. And now they're duking it out. And so if they're going to get approval, it's going to be because they proved that they don't have a choice. That's what it has to be.
Yeah. But we don't have a choice if they prove that.
Correct.
And that's more.
They can establish that in our
I think it's important to share with the public.
Yeah, it's the federal government has determined that ability for cellular communication is an important public need. So the Federal Telecommunications Act and state law, they've made the path pretty easy because they know that nobody wants to be neighbors to a cell tower. So we're doing everything we can within our local help. Beginning before June 30th. So we spoke before about the comprehensive plan update. Part of the comprehensive plan is you have to look at all the statewide planning goals. One of the most important is goal 5, which is natural resources, scenic resources, historic resources, wildlife, water, all those types of things. Like the rest that hasn't been updated since the 70s. We tried to update it around 2008, but it got appealed. Our department did receive a grant from DLCD a couple weeks ago to update our Goal 5 inventory and to embark on our own solar rule program. I don't know if any other counties have started, are going to implement their own program, but there are new rules from OARs, that are. They try to, create a fast track for large solar developments to go in and for counties to permit them. If the county wants to embark on creating their own program, it gives them a lot more discretion on where those sites will be fast tracked, and then also provides some means for us to make sure that the developers provide there are community benefits and agricultural benefits programs to those, and give us a lot of flexibility in how to create those. And so this is going to be something that we work on for the next probably 18 months with a ton of public input and a ton of advice from experts to make sure that how we have this set up is a way that makes sense for everyone in Crook County. Fee review, like I mentioned, one thing I want to get us, I'm working towards getting a KPI dashboard so we have a real-time view of how we are meeting our ongoing goals. And then the website update. So there's required notice. There's notice to meet the statute, and that is through paper mailing to neighbors with a certain little boundary from the application. But a lot of these projects, especially the big ones, they impact a lot more than just the neighbors. And so we're trying to find a means where the public can have an easy resource site to come and see everything that's going on in Crook County, so they don't feel like they've been surprised or even get a chance to have their voice heard. The county is updating its website currently, and so this one has been mothballed until we have access to the new system. So I don't update it and then have to re-update it again. But that'll be coming as soon as we get the new countywide website online. So next fiscal year, as I said,
Your finger, sorry.
I'm gonna just talk about this, but yeah, this has been going for the next 18 months. This is gonna be ongoing. I invite your participation if you have any interest in preserving these resources for Crook County. There we go. Challenges. So we are at the mercy of applications, and so those are dependent on broader economic conditions, including interest rates, general market uncertainty. And so we, again, the budget slide is last. We were really busy over the summer and things have started to slow down, but we're still doing, I think, really well overall. And so we're fine, but it is something to keep an eye on. If there's going to be a long economic downturn, we need to make sure that we are appropriately conservative with our expenditures to make sure we can staff for long term. Staffing is another one. It always is. We can't pay as much as Deschutes County. A lot of these jobs are very high demand, and so we need to make sure that this is a better place to live and work than these other jurisdictions. And one of the things I'm proud of in my first year, we have a big staff. We didn't lose anybody, kept everybody on staff. My first year, I think that's, I don't know if I can take any of the credit for that, but at least it's been very helpful for me as I get my feet underneath me to make sure that we have our team together. Everybody knows what they're doing and is working together. And then legislative changes. We are, as Seth said, we're at the mercy of state law. They're constantly tinkering with land use laws. There's, it seems like some conflict, in my opinion, between the legislature, who wants to make it easier for people to develop their property, especially for housing needs. And then there's the LCD, who is very good at writing complicated, comprehensive rules. And so there's been some, I don't know, I guess conflict isn't the right word, but I definitely sense it. And hopefully the system stays in place in a manner that doesn't get too complicated or remains workable for the public, but we are left having to apply those rules as they are passed down to us. Here's our budget. So you can see this is my favorite slide. Said we were doing pretty good in the summer. We were pretty busy, and we have been. Queen has done a great job. My ops manager keeping that purse strings very tight. Like I said, we market. I don't know what's going to happen next year or the year after that, and so we're trying to stay conservative. I would like to feel better about us year over year on our budget, make sure that we are staying sustainable, and then hopefully get to a spot where we can start increasing staffing to do some more long range planning and making sure that we are serving the public as we need to. But that's my update. Are there any questions?
Yeah, well, I'm curious about that. Year to date, obviously, like we said a couple times, we had a great time. Do you anticipate, given that accelerated run rate, that your funding will, by any measure, exceed expected budget, the planned budget?
I hope so. Yeah.
And can you speculate, I know it's your first year, but like, obviously that's a 6-month number. How far ahead of it is that, like, did you expect to receive 60% in the first 6 months, or can you even comment on that?
I would hope 60%. I did not expect 82%. If we're in the black this year, this will be the first year in a long time, but we've been in the black, and so I'm not gonna jump up and down too much. I'm gonna let the numbers come in for a little bit longer. But that was very encouraging, and make sure, you know, when I went to the budget the first time, long term, it was really concerning about us finding sustainability and not having to then worry about budget cuts in a couple of years and cut staffing at a time where we can't handle it. And so I hope this keeps up. Like I said, we got the Hidden Canyon Destination Resort application. That was a big one. Those don't come around every day. That's the last destination resort that's approved in Crook County. And so this is going to be, well, there is one more, I guess, that could let move forward. But those aren't things you can count on every 6 months. And so we also got Albany Data Center. That was a big one that got Will Van Vactor instituted a long range planning fee for some of these big projects like that. And so that gave us a good chunk of change, which now gives me the ability to move forward on some of this longer range stuff without really sweating every penny. And so it was good. Allowed us to start moving forward in this Goal 5 update before we got the grant, because even if it didn't come through, we could still do something. And so big of the grant approved, just need to get the check in our hands, and then we're rolling.
Just a quick question. I don't know if you have the answer off the top of your head, but you talked about the challenges with staffing with comparable salaries to Deschutes County, which we know Deschutes County pays more, but do you know about what that diff is on average for the payroll?
Will, do you remember? I think it's like 20%.
That number sounds right.
Yeah.
They just completed a salary schedule, and I think we're gonna be a little bit more disadvantaged than we are currently, even when they implement that. Starting to July 1st.
Their new wage schedule puts them
Their new-
about 20% above.
No, I think they're probably close to 20% now. I'm trying to remember what they're planning.
So it'll get worse.
It'll get worse, sorry. So it's something we wanna pay attention to once some of that becomes more public. I think they just had a board meeting on it. So anyways, that's a side note, but I think John's right. I think currently it's about
Deschutes County employee bus over here.
A shovel.
Yeah.
So when that comes up for COIC, I'm to vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very informational. I appreciate it.
Get that. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, John. Next up, we have Brad Haynes with the road department.
Morning, Budget Committee. I'm Brad Haynes.
Good morning.
Okay.
You didn't have to plow snow to get here.
No, it's been a pretty interesting year so far. And, hopefully it comes. We need it, but we'll see. There's nothing in the medium range right now. So,
Is there an overtime report on here that shows in your favor?
I'm using it. No, we're actually really good on our overtime shifts so far, but it could hit. We don't. Key priorities is secure, stable funding is for the required service that we offer. The transportation, package is on hold right now. It's probably going to get. It's in a work in progress. We don't know where it's going to go. SRS dollars are just a temporary fix. I know that they worked on them. We're actually getting them now, but it's only to 2027. So it's just a temporary fix. That's not very far away. That's next year. And so just very unstable on that type of revenues, right?
Is that through 2027 or to 2028?
It's actually the federal fiscal year is 1 year behind us, so it's 24, 25, and 26 for the feds. So we receive it 25, 26, and 27.
And we received 2 years this time, right? Because they
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
which at least, I mean, it's something.
It's nothing, and it's only 3/4 of the 25 due to the fact of timber dollars. They want to make sure that that
Sure.
washes out. So 25% held
Yeah.
back. So we only got three quarters of that. Safe transportation needs to be met for the public. That's keeping the county road system safe, safe for the travelers. You know, last year, we only treated about 11% of our paved roads. That's not very much, you know, with the amount that we have for servicing. Budgeted 1.2, and that's what we can afford. And so, that's what we did last year. This year, we're sitting at around 6% right now, but I do have some other treatments that we're gonna work on, so that will help that. Start saving from the TSPs. The TSP is completed, thanks to John and his group with the big lift on that. So that's gonna give us some ideas of where we need to put our money for the infrastructure, safety wise and stuff like that. We need to start up a savings account for that so we can start working on projects. Yeah, to be determined. That's a thing we need to. There's a lot of safety things that need to be done for the traffic public. Completed as planned. Juniper Canyon Davis Loop chip seal was 22 miles. We took off from county boat ramp to try to save a little bit of revenue to not go to the resort because it's still in decent shape. And so we chip sealed the main collectors up there, and that is completed. Butler Road was a low PCI out there in Lone Pine, so we put a thin lift overlay on that and built the shoulders up. Shouldn't have to touch that for about 15 years. So it hasn't been, it's been 10 years before anything's done. We're just looking for the lower PCI roads to kind of bring our PCI up because it's falling dramatically. The leveling course was all in-house staff. That's we call it a leveling course because we can't do construction. So we're just putting a thicker chip seal on its asphalt, so it's more durable. It's got a little more structure. Puppet Road is in contract right now. It will be done before June 30th of this year. And so that's 2+ miles. And that's part of the 11% that we did last year in completion. We did have some unexpected road system failures this last spring. We had all that water flooding, and we had some road giveaway up at Mill Creek. So we had to do some unexpected repairs up there. It took a couple of weeks to get that done. It's pretty expensive. Currently in process. I am contracted consultants to do a bridge package. We have a lot of bridges that are starting to come in life, and we're starting to not handle our waters or runoffs that we've been getting. So I kind of put a bridge package together last year, started with some of the ones that were bringing up lower deferred maintenances on them, and it come to total in 6, 4 out in Salina area and 2 in the Palbuta. I did pull one bridge off the replacement deal due to the fact it's getting taken completely out because of water irrigation. This is a slow process. I want to make sure that we have everything in place when we do that. So I hired a consulting firm to do that process. They're going to do all the hydrologist explanations and help with getting all the NEPA and all that stuff set in place. So when we do have the opportunity to put a package together for federal grants, we will have 100%. And I feel pretty confident that we'll be in the. We have a lot of people going for the bridge grants right now, so it's pretty competitive. So I want to be one of the competitors. This opportunity is going to be in the millions of dollars. And I'm going for a 0 match grant. Not be any financial obligations for us. Right now, this particular grant is coming around. It's in February's due date on it. We're just not there. So I won't be putting in. I hope to have it completed by September, October this year. So we have a good opportunity to put the package. Another thing that we're doing is we're digitalizing all of our paper files in the department. We have 17 file cabinets around. We're putting it in digital form. Everything that doesn't need to be forever paper, we're putting on site, and everything that needs to be forever, we're storing into a heated storage unit on site that we have. That's it. That's it. I'm pretty excited about that. It's gonna give me another bump. So beginning before June 30th this year, we're gonna probably do approximately 12 miles. They have slated to do 12 miles. Kind of the city county interface, some of the roads that are kind of in the county, in the city, smaller roads. So there'll be a lot of mobile this year, mobile moving around, won't be the long stretches of roads. About 550 Ks budgeted for that at this point. We'll see what the prices come out. That's rock crushing. Beginning before June, of course, to Puckett Road, that's already in contract. It'll be done before June. So we have a budget. Planning for next year. Thin lift overlay in house for Lamana Road. It's starting to show some pretty excessive failure due to a lot of the traffic and heavy loads on it. So to keep it in good shape, we're going to do a thin lift overlay, give it some structure is planned, and we'll keep that in house. The crew is staff is really coming around with the paving. I feel really confident in the kitchen. Crack sealing contract. I would like to put out a 20-30 mile crack seal contract. That's part of our treatment plan for next year. It'll take into consideration some of the chip seal budget, but it's still going to give us it'll help our structure and keep our PCI falling as fast as it is. It'll help build the PCI. And then I would like to find a 500K road to be I haven't found that road yet, but we need to be looking for a road that needs to be overlaid. So about 2 miles contracted out. I try to keep that about the same thing here. Challenges impacting core services. Cost doing business. It's excruciating to the amount of money that we're using funding of how fast it's going on. It's the biggest killer to a lot of it. Parts are expensive. The supply chain is kind of back online from prior years, but just the parts itself is super expensive. So finding stuff, it's just the cost of doing business. They're not running the increases are running out of available funds. Funding, secure funding sources, that's an impact. I'm always looking for other funding sources. I've been in conversation with the county coordinator or county manager, some of that stuff. So we're working through some stuff here shortly. The PCI being juggled, equipment versus PCI, our equipment's is old and it's starting to be not cost effective due to the fact it's costing us more to fix it and maintain it and be reliable. And some of it we can't even get launched. Budget, we're showing that we're spent 34% this year so far, but we haven't got our bigger contracts out, so we still have a lot of spending going on. Budget received, we still have a lot of budget coming in, expected budget coming in for the gas tax stuff and stuff like that. Like I said, SRS dollars are bringing in 75% for 2025, so we'll have that hit 25% later, which is roughly $750,000, and then 100% of the 2026 plan is well over $750,000. So that'll help. That's just a fix it. Is there any questions?
I want to say I'm a member, I'm the county representative for COAC, which is, I don't even know what it stands for, but it's a transportation thing. And they had us submit what to ODOT, what we felt was the priority. So it was obviously very easy for me to choose because our TSP is the roundabout in Pal Butte. So I had to fill out several columns, which will help me with the fancy language. And it sounded pretty darn good when I submitted it, and we got back an email that, yes, they thought that this was very much needed, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean we're getting it, but it's a step that Crook County has presented it, they've accepted it, and it's there.
Yeah,
That's 2 cents in there, as all I can put.
well, I really appreciate that, Commissioner, due to the fact of, any advocate we have for stuff like that is a big help. We're not getting any smaller as a county.
Yeah.
Our traffic loads on our roads, our rural roads are getting bigger. As people build in or they have relatives moving in, there's more cars moving. And so it's not getting any less people.
No,
So,
and we're very lucky that John got
yes,
the TSP, so then I had the factual to back it.
yes, and
So-
that is a huge document to help with that.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a start.
Yeah.
It's not something that happen next year, it's 5 years.
No, but we just put a plug.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Any other questions?
I'm curious, when was the last bridge replacement in this county?
Off the top of my head, it was out at Coronet Loop, and I do believe it was in 2017, 18. I do believe.
And was that handled with zero grant?
I think it was just a purchase out.
So if,
I'd have to research that.
if one of these 6, 5, whatever bridges fail, when you don't have the federal grant, who pays for that?
We'll work with FEMA a
FEMA,
lot, yes.
they do tend to kick in on that.
Well, it'll be an emergency. Usually it's a flooding situation that happens, just like back east.
Right, sure.
Massive amounts of infrastructure got removed due to that. And so, and it's gonna put a tax on it. They will be. So, but we do have some assistance in that. Continue. That's kind of what it's for.
Just something general, spoke with multiple residents of Juniper King and received positive feedback from all of them regarding how the overlay project was managed and the outcome. Very pleased.
The chip seal?
Yep.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. It's there is a lot of good feedback. There's a lot of negative too. The social media tore us up pretty bad. So I don't pay too much attention to that. Thank you for that. Any other questions? All right,
Thanks, Brad.
thank you. See you this afternoon.
Next up, we have Sean Briscoe from the museum.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Briscoe from the Bowling Museum.
Morning.
So our key priorities is expansion of educational opportunities in collaboration with community partners. We have a lot of great community groups in our community, and so one of our key priorities is to make sure we reach out to all of them, including the outlying areas. And then also to educate not only the schools, but our community about the history of our county. In addition, we are looking to increase attendance into the museum programs and exhibits. We have seen an increase, but there's always room for improvement. This year we're hosting 4 traveling exhibits. We're installing 2 new permanent exhibits. So the thing with museums is you got to keep changing them, because once you'll see them once, they tend to not come back. So that's kind of one of our big goals. And then increase internal and external funding to support museum projects, programs, and exhibits. So the cost of traveling exhibits, cost of updating exhibits, cost of programs, paying presenters, it all adds up. So we're looking at internal and external ways where we can be smart with our money, but also if there's any outside sources as well. So what we've completed so far this year is we upgraded our aging technology. This includes updating our photo printer, which is really nice. We use this a lot for not only internal for exhibits, but also the community can purchase historical photographs that will print in-house for them. A lot cheaper than other places. but this is a way that we can generate revenue. Our community room projector, which our community room gets used 3-4 times a week. And our projector was basically on its way out, so we were able to replace that one as well. Security cameras for the Belknap Center and a laptop to help us with our exhibits. The nice thing is this was all funded by a Meta grant. We increased our educational outreach. This was really focused on the schools. Last year, we had about 600 kids come through the museum for various tours, events. This year, year before that, 24 was 600. This last year, we had about 1,000 kids. So we're seeing an increase with the schools. Right now, we're usually only saw class visits towards the end of the year. Now we're already seeing classes being booked right now. So that was a nice thing to see, because the more kids we get through it, the better. And then lastly was revamping our website. The museum's website was a couple decades old, was not user-friendly, did not have things that people have become accustomed to. List of events, user access. So we went through and revamped all of that, updated some newer technology involved with the website. So this way we can have a lot more of our digital archives present, and then also a list for community events, programs that's more accustomed to what people are used to nowadays. So currently in process is Ranchers Memorial. This has been something that's been on the museum's radar for a long time. Last year, we were able to do a lot of cleanup and revamping of the outside, which was our phase 1. Now we're diving into phase 2, which is looking internally. It's a large space. It's got a lot of large artifacts, horse-drawn buggies, saw blades. Over the years, it has turned into external storage. So we're going through and looking at what's in there and how we can actually turn this into an exhibit center that can honor our ranching history. The nice thing is we do have some dedicated volunteers on the board of the Historical Society who are passionate about this. So I expect to see some progress this year on that, but it's a very large and expensive project. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Also, we're in the process of redesigning our bookstore. The front lobby of the museum, when everything's moved out, it's actually very large, very welcoming. It's got a lot of historical features that people are interested in. When you put a lot of the book spinning racks in there, it all just gets walked out. So we are in the process of installing book shelving and rearranging it this year, or this January, this month. And then February, March, we're going to expand on our merchandise. We've kind of been keeping track of what tourists and visitors are looking for. And so we're going to basically go through and get rid of what we've had for 10 years and bring up some new fresh stuff. T-shirts, hats, people really like the hats. So we're in the process of digitizing our historical artifacts and partnering with educational institutions. We have 50,000+ physical artifacts and probably over 60,000 digital photos. It takes a long time to enter all the metadata and get these digitized. So we're in the process of that. We have several volunteers who really like sitting there going piece by piece and digitizing them. And then also this includes partnering with educational institutions, OSU Cascades, U of O, who want to use our stuff for their own research as well. So it helps also with discoverability outside of just Crook County. And lastly, we're creating a collection development policy. This will guide our collection development. The more we receive artifacts, when we get rid of artifacts, there's a clear line of criteria and a policy to follow. This way people understand, not only for staff, but externally too, it's like, this is how we follow this process. In the past, we've had a sort of makeshift collection policy, but we're actually working with a consultant now to write a very thorough policy that follows all the state and federal guidelines as well with archiving material. So looking to the future, we're going to start working on preserving the Crook County courthouse. We're trying to get it listed on the historical preservation list. It is one of the most iconic, or not the most iconic building in Crook County. And it needs to be preserved and protected. The Bowman Museum is on that list. So I feel like this is the next one. This also opens up opportunity for grants for preservation as well from the state and federal level. And then another thing we're going to be working on starting for the end of this year is establishing our sponsorship program. Like I mentioned before, exhibits, speakers, they all cost money. We're going to reach out to the community to see if any businesses, community groups would be interested in sponsoring these programs to not only kind of get some involvement from the community, but also to help offset the costs of programs and events and exhibits. And then lastly, increase. Yeah, this is a little bit of a shortcoming of the museum is we just don't have the staff and time to get out to Paulina, Brothers, Powell Butte. And so we're working on ways that we can either have exhibits out there, lectures, displays, things that can be staff efficient, but also get them involved with their local history because they are our county too. So we're working with the schools and community groups and community centers in those areas to get the information out to them. And this way they can see the history of their area as well. So planning for next fiscal year. We want to create an educational tool for educators and homeschool. After talking with a lot of the teachers that come through, a lot of them don't have the support for local history. A lot of them want to share the local history and teach the local history, but they don't have the resources. So we're working to create a portal on our website to where educators can go and have access to historical documents, information sheets that are grade level specific that they can then turn and use in the classrooms. Also, we wanted to create, don't quite have the name, but like a traveling trunk, a one-stop shop for educators that they can check out or take away. And that has all the information to have a lesson for their students. This idea kind of came out because we have seen an increase in homeschool visits and they don't have the resources as well. And so a lot of them would love to take home a trunk with historical pictures, documents, so they can then share it with the other homeschools. We want to host quarterly mini exhibits. We have a lot of odd, unique things in the back that just never see the light of day. For example, we have a 2,000-year-old sandal from the Native Americans, things like a lot of unique things. And we want to create mini exhibits. This will be quarterly, kind of low impact on staff, but just a way to kind of highlight the unique history we have in our county. And then host 4 traveling exhibits at the Belknap Center. This is the newest addition to the museum, and this will be increased. So this will include traveling exhibits, which we've been fortunate Oregon Historical Society has done for free, but there's a lot of neat ones out there that we'd love to bring in from Smithsonian, World War II History Museum in New Orleans that will actually come out here as well. So our biggest impact is limited staff. We have 2 full-time staff members, including myself, and a part-time staff member. The more that we want to get involved with the community, the more the community wants to get involved with us. There's just a limited capacity of time, what we can do externally, but also get a lot of the internal stuff done. So luckily my staff is very excited about what they do, very dedicated, and very creative. So, but that does pose a challenge on how much we can actually get involved with. And then limited funds for exhibits and projects. I've probably heard this a lot, but things cost more. Shipping the big traveling exhibit used to be a lot cheaper. Material to build exhibits has gone up. So the nice thing is our staff is really creative and we have a community that really likes to help out, which is a blessing in itself. And so we have had a lot of external community members helping out to donate their time, but it is just a limiting factor on what we can what we'd like to accomplish. And then just some potential staff changes that happened recently. We had a museum host, which was our Saturday only person. She left the museum. We had extra help that we were using. We converted the Saturday person with the extra help to hire a part-time admin clerk position. And she works the front desk. And she's amazing at what she does. So that's just some recent staff changes. And then budget, as you can see, we've received 84%. We've spent 45%. We're halfway through. So I think we're doing good. But like I mentioned, staff is really good at finding ways to accomplish our goals with limiting the impact as we can on our budget. Also, they're very good at being conservative on what we spend money on. So I think we're looking good. And I think that will help us carry into the next year as well. Any questions? All right.
Just one quick one. Do we track attendance at the museum?
Yes.
So we have data whether we're increasing or decreasing our foot traffic?
Yes. So off the top of my head, when I started, we were about 17,000 people. This last year, we're about a little over 19,000. Our ultimate goal is to get 20,000 people a year. One thing we have noticed is we are getting more people from outside Crook County coming in. Last year, we had about 24 groups that were international. We've had groups from about 32 states. So we're seeing not only our community coming through, but a lot of people are coming in from outside the area. Last year, one of the kind of highlights was we had Pacific Crest trail hikers who took a day off on the trail. Instead of staying in Bend or Sisters right next to the trail, they actually took a bus out here because they heard about the museum. So that was kind of a neat little thing, like, oh, all right, let's go the trek. So yeah, we keep kind of good attendance on that.
Good, thank you.
And and his programs, the programs that the museum is putting on, they're getting, let's just say we're sitting closer and closer because there's more and more people attending. Sean has done a very good job in encouraging enthusiasm and people coming. So yeah, alas, the breakfast was.
It was cozy.
Yeah, it was cozy.
It was cozy. And just like exhibits, we can't just do the same programs every year. Well, they get bored of them. So we've been expanding on trying to get different experiences, different unique speakers. We had Dennis Jenkins, the archaeologist from the Paisley Caves, come in. That was a packed house. So we're using all of our chairs a lot more frequently now with the different programs that we have. And the staff is really good at coming up with some creative topics. So which is really fun because it's a unique history that we have here. Great.
Yeah, you've done a really good job of really improving things over there. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's fun. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. All right, next up is the library. We're managing a leadership transition at the library right now, so I'm going to take this department. Kim Bales is here, and she is free to throw anything at me if I say anything wrong about the library, but she's been doing a great job leading that. She's been doing a great job.
Rotten fruit.
I'd rather have a rock. But thank you for being here, Dan. So key priorities for the library: retain and hire adequate staffing, address issues with the aging building, increase outreach services with a new electric bookmobile. Just quickly on retaining and hiring adequate staffing. This is an important initiative for the library to ensure that there is kind of that foundational staffing level to maintain high service levels. So this relates to the board's current goal of outstanding service here at the county. The aging building, this is part of a bigger picture strategic kind of facilities plan, but we want to make sure, even though that may be one of the newest buildings in the county's fleet of buildings. It nonetheless is at that point in its life cycle where it is going to need work, already needs work, and we need to be planning for that work going forward. I'll talk a little bit more about the bookmobile here in a minute. But the county did, the prior library director applied for a grant with the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality for an electric bookmobile, $650,000 grant. This is a potential opportunity to potentially drive up outreach and engagement with some of our outlying communities. I'll chat a little bit more about that. But again, this touches on quality of life here in Crook County, which is a forward goal, as well as outstanding service. Completed as planned. So just on the building again, heat tape installed in gutters. This will hopefully reduce long-term repair costs and any potential downtime to the ice dams, etc. Conform. ADA doors installed in the public restrooms. This improves accessibility. For those of you who've been in the library, you may have noticed how heavy bathroom doors are. This will hopefully make that not an issue for folks that was a challenge for. 3 full-time outreach specialists hired. Again, this is an effort to drive up engagement with some of our outlying communities, as well as making sure we're engaging with service providers here in Prineville, including schools, senior center, etc. And then lastly, on this slide, more security cameras added. This is not only an effort to protect public assets, but also ensure patrons, staff are safe in the library. Currently in progress, sidewalk repair. Again, this is an accessibility issue. The sidewalk out front of the library was scaling and cracking and in need of repair. I believe that's actually been completed, correct, Kim?
I was under the impression we were having all the sidewalks repaired. But James thought it was just that one section, so.
Well, the section in front of the library has been repaired.
One side.
Yeah, one side, okay. So maybe some ongoing work there, but an effort to ensure continued accessibility year-round at the library. And then ADA compliant online library catalog through Vega Discover. Anticipated completion June of 27. This again is an accessibility issue. Making sure we're providing services to the whole community. Beginning before June 30th. This is where I'll chat a little bit more about the bookmobile. So again, the county received a grant from the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality for $650,000 to replace the existing diesel Bluebird school bus that has been used as a bookmobile. The purpose of the grant is to reduce diesel emissions. So as part of the grant, the Bluebird bus has to be peak emissions, and we need to incorporate the electric bookmobile into our fleet for purposes of providing those bookmobile services. I wanted to spend a minute on this because we have not yet received a grant agreement for that. The staff is currently looking into some of the operational costs associated with having an electric bookmobile, including costs around charging. We also want to make sure we understand the complete range of the bookmobile, because one of the things that would get me excited about potentially having a brand new bookmobile is the opportunity to use that to drive up engagement with our outlying communities. It's something we can highlight and use on social media, whatever, to say, hey, we've got this great new bookmobile. We're excited to have folks come check it out and come check the book out while you're checking the bus out. But we need to make sure that the bus can actually get to places like Plina and back to Prineville. So there's still some things we need to look into that current staff, not involved in the original grant application. So we just want to make sure that it's a viable option for what would be a potentially exciting opportunity. We just want to make sure we can actually take advantage of that in a meaningful way for this community. So we'll have future conversation as we see the grant agreement, as we learn more about how it could serve this community. We'll have more of a conversation with the board. And we'll do that before June 30th. Planning for next fiscal year, again, back on building and making sure we're maintaining it. We need to make sure we're staying on top of paint, both inside and outside. Similarly, we need to be taking care of drywall issues, including cracks inside the building. And then, again, we'll chat about this in just a second in a little more detail, but making sure we have sufficient staff to continue to provide service to the community. So challenges impacting core services. We highlighted staff levels here. Library has seen a decrease in staffing levels over the last couple of years. I think it's been particularly noticeable with the kind of transition in leadership down and even an additional FTE at this time. We want to make sure that the county can continue to provide critical services through the library. So we need to make sure we are identifying the correct staffing level and planning and budgeting accordingly. So that'll be an emphasis this year for the library in terms of identifying that correct staffing level for fiscal year 27 and next few years, as well as we continue to assess services and make sure we're providing the community what it needs through our library. So obviously we have a vacancy right now, and we'll be assessing. Obviously, we're going to fill that leadership position, but also just continue to assess all FTEs at the library and make sure we have the correct staffing level and our understaffing currently. Budget, I think it's looking pretty good. Spent 42%. Projected budget, so for mid-year or middle of the fiscal year, I think we're in a good spot as far as expenses go at the library. And I'm happy to answer any questions or have them.
Cheryl Seeley had it said it, she raised her hand, up on the screen. So I don't know if she's on there, but it came across the screen there, Jamie. Okay.
Don't know if she still had it up. She might have accidentally clicked it.
Did you see it, Brianna?
Yeah, but I think she put it down.
Okay.
She doesn't have that now.
Sorry, Will, but
Are we only the one position short than the director position currently, as far as the FTE headcount?
I think we might be down to
about
1.5 right now.
How many total, roughly?
I think we have
It
9.
was 8.8, there was 8.56 that was adopted. 0.56 of that was converted to services, so that leaves 8. But prior years, the library staffing has been closer to 9, between 9 and 11 FTE. So there was a lot of ideas and changes.
We're at 8 budgeted.
We're at 8 right now.
But we're at 6.5 with a 1.5.
In real
No,
times.
there's 7 filled.
7.
Okay.
Sorry. to confuse that.
I just know there's, obviously we lost the director, but my wife just started teaching over at OSU Cascade campus. We did the program last week, and the head of OSU Cascade Library came from here too, a year or 2 ago. So I just,
April's the director over there, yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of turnover in there. Is that another deal where we're paying 20-something% less than Deschutes County, or geez?
I think there's been multiple different reasons.
With that few individuals, it's, yeah, you get these individual reasons that could really affect the percentages profoundly.
well, I will say this, the ones that are there do a very good job, and I'm amazed at how many people are in the parking lot. And I go there for another meeting and are there.
That parking lot's always full.
Yes, I commend them very much on the job they do.
Yeah, Kim and the team at the library have done a great job, not only during this transition, but before as well.
And I went in just a couple days ago and asked for gossip, and they didn't even have any gossip. So, just two days.
Thank you. Next up, we have the assessor's office, with John Solis, the county assessor.
I got some gossip for you.
Oh, good.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No, but I was thinking about library and museum. I'm just trying to draw people in, and we're trying to draw them in too.
Somehow.
Lower values, I don't know.
Say this a lot. I'm sorry.
We do appreciate your effort.
There you go, yeah.
Enthusiasm.
Crook County. Oh. All right, so this is kind of some of the happenings that we've been accomplishing. We've sent out personal property returns in this last month here in December to all the known businesses on file. And then we eventually pretty much communicate one-on-one with them. And that's as those returns are coming back. That's due March, April range. So number two, staff has begun field inspections of new construction on properties. At this point, we've got a good 1,250-ish and still probably a few more to be added to that number. Number three bullet point is processing of deeds. That is as of to date for this fiscal year, 946. Pretty good number. Mobile homes, 72. Veterans exemptions, 121, and 60 new ones out of that. And I believe that veterans number is last year altogether. Completed as planned. Here's the good news. Successful tax roll was certified and completed with a 6.2 assessed value increase countywide. It affects all taxing district budgets. The RMV went up 3.3%, by the way. We valued all new construction for the 25-26 year. And we also saw an increase in omitted property and clerical error correction. Other things that are currently in process. We're seeking to hire for our personal property position that was vacated due to a retirement. So I am short a staff member as well. But they quit for good reasons as far as, you know, we're done working. And we're hoping to fill this position by February or March. Some other things going on is we're actually cross-training with our assessment technician 1 position. This staff member has excelled beyond the current position that they are in. So we've actually started to do some cross-training in some other areas due to their expertise. Don't have a completion date on this per se as of yet. Challenges impacting Forest Services. That's the right page, don't?
Maybe you want.
Yeah, flip this one over. Beginning before June 30th. Working on an office budget. The CAFA grant that starts March 1st. That also involves 4 other departments as well. Anybody that's in a part of the assistance, let's say, in assessment and taxation, such as the finance office, is going to benefit from that CAFA grant as well. So 5 departments countywide altogether, including ours. They benefit from the revenue. Both those items have to be completed by the end of May or sooner. That's reference to the budget, CAFA grant. New construction red tags. Again, appraisers have the 1,250 plus that have been processed. We're estimating 60 to 70% of those are from new permits that were taken out in 2025. It's a pretty good number. The rest would be like repeats, you know, like a house that's halfway down, and we're going back to follow up on it. Goal is to accomplish these inspections by the end of May. A few other things that I didn't note on this was personal property returns will be due by April. Also, our non-EFU program, we have questionnaires that we mail out, and then those are due back by those homeowners also in April. We're doing that stuff before June 30th. Planning for the next fiscal year. If we are all staffed up, we have some planned reappraisal ahead, which shall increase our revenue, including county taxable assessed value that will rise as a result. We're also planning to fast track the training of this personal property position
once we get it replaced, so we don't lose much, momentum from the last few years. The person that retired actually had, she was a 6-year employee and probably had a good solid 3-4 years at least doing personal property specifically for our office. So that's pretty huge. You're losing that, kind of flatlines that area. Now we're on challenges impacting core service. Again, currently reduced staff with the retirement of one member. The duties that they perform are not being engaged in as prior. That'll result in some revenue loss and flatline results. Now, that's not revenue loss all across the board on everything, but I'm specifically referring to what that staff member did. This also affects the appraisal staff and any needed assistance because we're trying to fill that position, you know, that void, and any questions or what have you. In the meantime, that results actually in appraisal work being reduced, which also reduces services and revenue returns. Next slide, potential staffing requests. Need to replace this assessment tech position. And I'm actually trying to replace this with a new appraiser position instead. And then the next bullet point, several internal promotions. I think it's actually overall is one internal promotion. I think the other promotions will probably be in the 27-28 fiscal years. Budget. So on this one here, we're a little bit higher on the spent side. That is reflective to our valuation software with a company called Helion. That's a major contract that we have that's annually due July 1st. So that gets paid right away. That's what shoots this up for a season. But other than that, all the other numbers are either on target or below on like the salary one as a result of not having a staff from the retirement that we had. So, and I think the 57 is probably more is Kappa received revenue from the county. Be that. So, yeah. Good question.
Yeah, I wanted to understand better that 6.2% assessed value increase.
Sure.
Was there a predicated a previous amount expected? Where does that fall versus the expectation? Or was there an expectation baked in previously?
Built-in expectations are basically when most of the county is valued off their maximum assessed value, without getting too deep into the terms of what they all mean. That by law can go up 3%. So we're looking at that. We've had probably over 99% of the county valued at that maximum assessed value. So right there, we have this immediate, there's probably going to be a 3% increase to our tax base, our assessed value. Right. On top of that number would be the new construction that we get.
So that's all new construction.
Yeah, that's everything.
And would you interpolate, to use probably the wrong word, that 1,250 new permits to suggest a similar number going forward?
I think we've seen a slight decrease, but not much. So basically what I was shooting for last year was around 5%. I'd probably be safer to say that again. Yeah.
So for the next year, at least based upon the current 1,250, you're probably looking at a 5% bump.
Yeah, I think we're definitely not going to be looking at under 3%. I think that at all. Our values have gone down just a bit, but not much. But then again, overall, we're seeing 3.3. You know, we've seen certain value areas around the county go down a little bit,
but the values are way ahead of the 3%.
Yeah, yeah. We like that. Yeah. That answer the question? Yeah. Okay.
Just to expand on that, I think this question's for Will, but it's related. I thought in our budget process, we had a 4% expected increase. And then anything on top of that increase, we were allocating back to the sheriff's department. So does this represent a 2.2% increase of tax revenue for that section of tax revenue going back to the sheriff's department? Yep.
Yeah.
And roughly what did that dollar amount come to this year?
It was about 280,000.
That's really where I was.
We can work work together, Steve.
We would.
See the mind melding going.
What I can't remember is if the 280,000 accounts for a 94% collection rate, or if the 280-ish thousand is 100%. I don't remember, I'm
Worst
sorry.
case, it's 94% or 280.
Yeah.
We'll allow
exactly.
rounding. somewhere.
John, can I ask you a question? Sure. So just on the new construction side, so. As those go on the tax roll after, if it's a new house, let's say, after cert of occupancy is issued, or like when, like what's the time, like how does that work? in your office?
So the certificate of occupancy doesn't really have anything to do with it on our end of things. Because there's so much that gets built out there and doesn't have permits or whatever. So, you know, we have a statutory, I think it's ORS, I want to say 307, 110, that it would defining what real property is, that we're gonna just pick it up and get it. So, but when it comes to, let's say specifically a house or a new construction item, I kind of mentioned this a bit ago as well. We're gonna pick it up in increments as they complete it. So in other words, like a shop. 100% shop would be, let's say you have a gravel floor, the walls are up, ceiling's on, all the shell is complete, it's got overhead doors on it, basically done. They might add power and concrete to it later, which hopefully we'll get. We try and do a follow-up. But that shop would be valued at 100% complete. So if we go there the first year and we go, oh, okay, holes are up, so that means excavation's done. Holes were, you know, that process has been accomplished, and those poles are up. We might go say 15%, 20% or something like that. So we're gonna start a percentage complete. I mean, there is long-term projects. You used to see that quite a bit out by the reservoir of folks that might live, let's say in the valley, have a vacation type home, something that they're building, it might take several years. So, yeah, so it's not like it goes on as soon as they get down and get a certificate of occupancy, and then we do it 100%. Nope, we're picking it up along.
So, but let's just say it's a house, like.
Same concept.
They built it all, vacant lot, bare lot, they built it all. Calendar year 25, they move in, summer 25.
Yeah.
Like, when does that get added? To the
Sure. So again, we're looking at now, the assessment year is January 1st of each year. So like, we've just passed January 1st, a great example here. My team is gonna be out right now doing their red tags for the new construction, which they've already started to go out and do, to see what homeowners accomplished during 2025. So if they finish that house, doesn't matter if it was December 31st or July 1st of 2025 at 100%, that's what goes on tax. Or 50% or whatever.
So, sorry about the questions, but so Steve was asking about the 1,200 permits, like, is there any way to estimate what, like, the added value is?
You mean like a dollar amount?
Yeah. Like, or is it just, does it just come in so piecemeal that it's really hard to?
Definitely pieces. Yeah, again, you know, could be electrical permit from a house permit to a shop permit. Or an addition to a house, and we don't know what they've added. You know, they might say a room. But, you know, is the house entry level class lower? We class the homes, let's say Versada Ranch is class 6, so it's a high quality home. So in addition to a class 6 home, it's going to be quite a bit of difference to a class 3, which is like an Adair home. So those specifics, that would take some work to really dig into.
Yeah, I appreciate you entertaining my question.
This might even be simplistic, but when you were talking about like the one home is completed July 1st, the other home's completed December 31st, they don't go on the roll though till January 1st dependent, or does that July one go on the roll at that?
The July, both of them would. So in other
At
words,
the same time on January 1st.
yes,
Okay.
as an assessment date.
Okay.
That's basically saying they've completed this work.
Okay.
So the person that did it 6 months ago and is living there for 6 months. Is, you know, that's gonna be 100% complete, valued as of January 1st, 2026.
Okay.
The same as the person who didn't get to move it, you know, in until
Till
December 31st.
He's still the same.
Yes,
Okay, that was my question. Okay.
build early, you'll have more time to live in it. That's just,
What are the taxes? How good is that?
in a sense,
Well,
but yeah. Any more questions?
Please.
I entertain the questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
John.
Yep.
Sure.
All right, next up, we have the clerk's office, and I believe Cheryl Seeley, the county clerk, is online.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna turn my video on, but it's okay. You don't need to see me. Just picture me on a beach somewhere, but I'm not. I am in the warm comforts of my home though, so that's good. Sorry I couldn't be there this morning, but had a medical thing I have to be out this week. So I will go ahead and get started. So for the record, I'm Cheryl Seeley, your county clerk. And so the key priorities and goal alignment for the clerk's office is to conduct accurate and transparent elections according to law, and to record, archive, and retain all documents and or records as required by law, and to provide exceptional customer service in all areas of the service provided by this office. And we provide other services other than just recording land records and elections. Of course, we do, passports and notaries and marriage licenses and military records and mining records and road records. We have all kinds of stuff in there. So that's what we've got. Completed as planned. So this last 6 months, I guess, is what we're at mid-year. So we've recorded 2,631 documents, which is a little over 3,000 titles. Some documents have multiple titles. That's why you see that titles is different, and each title has a separate fee. So, and that number actually is up just a little bit, which is a good thing. Recording revenue maybe is on the rise again. So that'll be wonderful. We've issued 100 marriage licenses. That's real similar. The first quarter of the year, it's usually lower than the last half of the year. So this last half of the year, it actually was a little bit lower than it has been. But I'm sure that's going to pick up this next year. And then passport applications processed, we processed 191. That number is actually lower. I think we're seeing kind of the wave of a lot of those folks that got their passports when they needed those to fly with the real ID thing. So we're starting to see the actual applications drop off on that because we don't process renewals. It's just those first time applications or the applications for those under 18. So that number is probably going to stay fairly steady, possibly even decline over the next few years. And then our election department has updated or taken on new voter records. We've processed a little over 3,300. And currently our voter registration is sitting at 21,655. And that number has kind of fluctuated in the last 6 months by about 300 or so, just kind of goes up and down with the folks moving in and out. So we also completed an archiving project. It was a large project. I had a large number of our commissioner journal books, which is all of our commissioner minutes over time. And we've had those books scanned and preserved and archived into some really nice protective books. Those are in my vault. If you guys are ever in my office and want to come take a look, they're pretty incredible. So pretty proud of that project. Those are going to be safe for many, many years. So, and then I've attended several clerks conferences. The Oregon Association of County Clerks has actually elected me secretary of the association this year. That will progressively move to treasurer next year, then vice president, and then president. And the year I'm president, I actually can have the annual conference in Crook County if we have a appropriate location and hotels and all of that for about 100 and 120 folks. So we'll see what happens. I'd love to keep it in Crook County and show everybody some of the wonderful things that Crook County has to offer. So we'll see how that goes. And then we also completed our property record alert system rollout. We just did that a few weeks ago. As of Friday, I think we had over right around 130 that had signed up for that. So the word's just getting out. That is starting to kind of roll out. Had a few folks have some questions on it, and so we've kind of tweaked the instructions in the beginning a little bit. So if you are on that system and have any questions or concerns or hear that, please let me know so we can just make that system a little bit better for everybody. And next slide. So currently in process, we're working on our annual security plan that has to be filed the end of January, and that is filed with the Secretary of State's office, and that's per ORS, and that outlines all of my election security. It's a pretty lengthy, complex document, and we do that every year. And then we're also in the process of hiring a chief deputy who is my election deputy. I have my current one will be retiring in July, and we had budgeted this last year, so it's in my budget of a 5-month overlap so we could train that person through the May election. So we're hoping to have somebody start sometime in February, but applications are coming in slow, so we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, I'm going to continue archiving records. We continuously do that to make sure we've, got those protected and preserved for the future. And of course, those are our Board of Commissioner meetings, recorded documents, marriage licenses, the full minutes packets as those come to us. We scan those and archive those as well. So I do have some offsite storage records. I've got 2 rooms up at the road department, and we're looking at condensing that down into one small room and then moving some of those records actually to the courthouse into that additional room that I have. And then the State Archives has opened up some new programs, and we're looking at maybe sending some of those records to them as well. So that will kind of reduce some of the storage space and stuff that I need for records, because that is, there's some pretty stiff requirements for that space. And we've just recently been able to get heat back in the one up at the road department. We were without heat for a while, so, and that is a requirement. So, and then of course you guys have probably seen the USPS mail delivery changes. That's, we've been hearing about. That's actually not a new thing really for us. We've known for a long time that the postmarks are not done locally. They are done in Portland typically. They try their best to put the date on it that they do receive it, but a lot of times it ends up with the next day. So we're just changing some of our messaging that's going out on the return ballot dates, when to mail your ballot to get it back in time and that sort of thing. So, and we're also working with the post office about how they deliver mail to the courthouse. There was some concerns that came up about the current mailroom and that sort of thing. So Brianna and I have actually been working with the post office on possibly doing a delivery box outside instead of a mailroom. So there will be changes on that possibly this spring, and that may roll over into next year as well. So, and I also am the clerk of the Property Values Appeal Board, and those actually had to be filed by the end of December, and we actually hold those hearings in March, April. Everything has to be done by April 15th, and we have a few appeals. That's an annual thing. Usually those appeal numbers are under 10, which is wonderful. We've got a low number again this year, so we'll be working on those very shortly. And so beginning before June 30th, of course, we'll have the primary election in May. That election for us starts actually last September when the filing period opened up. So we're currently taking candidate filings, answering questions, that sort of thing. The filing deadline is in March. Then we will start working on our election setup in our voter registration program. Have some ballot design. The process will start real heavy for us in March, and then of course the elections in May. And then, as I mentioned, we have the property value appeals hearings. We'll have a few of those scheduled in the next couple of months. And then also had mentioned that we're going to transfer some records to state archives. They've actually just changed their administrative rule on some records retention stuff. So that's been actually wonderful for a lot of the clerks. we've been really excited to see this change come. So this will be, we will have the ability to transfer some of them digitally, and they can store them digitally. So that's fantastic. And then the additional office space updates. So I have that room next to me that was a victims advocate room, and we're hoping to add some security cameras in there and kind of utilize that workspace. I've been holding off to kind of see what the remodel process is for the historic courthouse, just because I didn't want to plan something and then it interfere or not align with the goal for that building. So we'll utilize it a little. We'll do a little at a time until we can see what's going to happen with the building. So we've got that. And then planning for next fiscal year, of course, we'll have the general election in November. And then we'll have another election. The district election will be in May. And then, of course, there will be more property values appeals hearings next spring, as like I said, that happens every year. And some of the challenges impacting our core services, election security, that's, of course, every year kind of has a little bit of a heightened concern. We're working with some really good entities with Department of Homeland Security, that sort of thing. So they are really good about giving us alerts and things if there's any things that we are looking at for cybersecurity, that sort of thing. Our IT department has been really, really a key player in that as well. That physical security, I think, is probably the hardest one for us. We have a fantastic sheriff's office. They've also provided some security for us, so we'll continue to work with them on that. And then the other thing, of course, is funding elections. And as you guys know or may not know, that the counties pay for our elections. The district election is the only one that is not paid for by the county. That one the districts pay for. But all these other elections, like this one in May and the general in November, that is a responsibility of the county. There is some legislative bills in the works and that have been talked about, even some in the past that have been presented on trying to get more funding to the clerk's office for elections. But we're not there yet. So we'll see what happens. I think there is some current stuff in this short session that might help us a little bit. So, and with the funding with elections, the money that comes in my office typically is for recording. I have some reserve funds that help for recording and archiving and that sort of thing. There is always a concern for some of the funds for that, as our fees are set in statute and can't be increased. So we did try that, as the Oregon Association of County Clerks did present a legislative bill this last session to increase those funds. And of course, that bill didn't go anywhere. So we will continue to work on that and hopefully be able to increase some of those funds to bring some more money into our department. But you know, it affects the public because it's the documents that the public records. So of course, we don't want that increase to be anything major, but just little increases are helpful. Some of the fees that we collect when we record a document for the state, there's several different entities that a recorded document is broke down into different funds, and some of those funds go to different areas, so very little of that stays within the county. And some of those funds they've been able to increase, but yet the clerk's office funds, they don't allow us to increase. So we're working on that, but hopefully there'll be more to come on that. Probably not this session, but probably next legislative session. So. Does anybody have any? Oh, I guess we've got an overlap here. So I have a 6-month overlap, like I said, for succession planning for a staff member, hopefully starting in February or March, and they will go through probably July or August. And that is just to train for that election staff. So what else do we have? And then budget, you can see I've received 61% year to date, and we've only spent 40% year to date. So we do have another election to get through. So the spending will kind of go up a little bit on that. And I think we are receiving, our revenue is coming in a little bit higher because, like I said, those recording numbers are a little higher than they have been in the past. So hopefully that number is stays up, and our revenue comes in a lot higher than just the 100%. So we'll see how it goes. Anybody have any questions?
I have one general one. There's obviously a theme around hiring and staffing. Do we use a certain site for all of our postings for the county positions that are available? We don't use like Indeed or.
So they have recently, we are part of NeoGov, and I know that goes out to governmentjobs.com, but I know there's several other avenues that those are posted on. Of course, they're on our website through Hiring Thing. I've shared it out on LinkedIn. I've put it just a shared link on my personal Facebook page because the county doesn't maintain one of those. Social media seems to get a lot of attention, and I think we kind of missed the mark by not being able to utilize that for some of this sort of thing. So I helped, but we've received some applicants. I've got some pretty good ones, I think, in the pool now, so we'll see how that goes. But I know HR has probably the list of all of the places that those go out to. Jamie might even have some of that off the top of her head. I don't know.
Megan yesterday talked about that government.com, and you were in her report that she was very excited to get on it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of jobs that are posted on governmentjobs.com or whatever the dot is, but we haven't been able to take advantage of that historically with our new HRIS program. We have our jobs are posted on that, so just like within the last month, that has become a tool that we haven't had in the past.
Yeah, it's probably .gov, isn't it?
No, it's governmentjobs.com.
Oh, it is.
It actually,
Not owned by the US government.
no, I think it may be owned by NeoGov, which is the software provider for the HRIS.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So we actually have a scheduled 10-minute break. Everybody would be ready for that. So it is 9:58 right now. Did we just round up, say everybody back at 10:10? Does that work?
Sounds perfect. Welcome back. Our break is over and we are gonna tackle weed control with Thomas.
Good morning.
Morning, Thomas.
For the record, Thomas Laird, Crook County Weed Master. No staffing issues, right? See? So we're just still here, number one. So you guys kind of know this, but the goal is to basically reduce the spread and impacts the big word of invasive weed on public and private lands throughout the county. And we do that by maximizing our federal funding, state grants, any opportunities such as Title II, Title III, which allows me to maintain a lower overhead cost, essentially. And then public outreach is this kind of work. Any natural resources work is a big component of any program like this. So, and that's, that's the part that makes the job fun, honestly. So, and it also ensures transparency in what we're actually doing in our department. So this was kind of how it went last year. Crook County roads, that's where I start. I'm actually starting tomorrow on Milliken. I mean, the weather is, you guys know. Grass is growing. It is, it's green. So that typically runs from now till about March. If I can be done April 1st, life's pretty good. Most years you're talking middle of April. Bonneville, I start immediately after roads. And then I transition to basically everything else, OEBs, grants, Title II, Title III. Juniper Canyon went really well this year. We actually had a few more landowners jump on board that heard about what the county was doing. And that was great. It timed out. It was literally the week before we were going to get up there. So that worked out well. BLM, that was kind of, we've had a weird transition last year. Forest went really well and state parks. State parks was kind of nice because they're a great agency to work with. And due to losing BOR, they actually contacted me and said, hey, we like what you've been doing. We obviously cannot give you BOR funds, but we would like to keep this agreement. And so that was really a good win for my program this year. And then I got a new Polaris 1000S. That was also pretty good. So right now, Bureau of Rec, like a lot of things with the new administration, had some funding shifted at the federal level. And it's cyclic. What's happens with it doesn't matter. It's just every 4 years up and down. So Bureau of Rec terminated my contract in April, which was really unfortunate timing on a lot of levels for them and for me. I'm working on renewing the contract. I'm still maintaining those lines of communication, but there's only so much they can do because Congress has to approve these funds and appropriate them to these projects, right? So infrastructure dollars, some of that actually went to Bureau, as you guys know, for irrigation projects and dams, but the money came out, took 4 years for that money to even get in the hand of those programs, so we're kind of in that same lull right now with them. And I think that money will come back, but right now not having those funds it's the biggest hit to my department. That was my best contract by far. OWEB, we put in for 2 grants, about $25,000 each. And I won't know on those until February on whether they're awarded. I like our odds. Title III, this was our first year on upper and middle Mackay and fuels reduction. And that went really well. I think we put out like 40 acres of material and we covered, it was a pretty significant portion, like 7 miles of creek. There's a lot of knapweed. There's a lot of everything, as you guys know, but it was really successful. This was the last year for the old Title III funds for Juniper Canyon. So going forward, I would like to stay on top of Juniper Canyon for obvious reasons, wildfire. And obviously I'll be working with Christina on that when there is new funds. And then the other thing that's in the process, but kind of has just happened, is BLM. We didn't have any BLM last year. And, that was a headache. So that whole fiscal cycle I had budgeted for BLM funds, nothing. I mean, it was just goose eggs. So we got that renewed. There's $72,000 in there right now. And it's 5-year agreement. And so this spring, I'm actually already met with a couple of guys at Prineville District. And so we've got some good stuff moving forward. And that'll be a nice boost to the program, having that back. And then I basically outlined all this, but I'll be out there for pretty much all my projects before June 30th. And then, Bureau Rec, that's the big one. Keep bird dogging them and finding ways that we can get that program back. And the Wiley Flat Fire, that was a good win for the Crook County and for my program. I got a lot of work done up there this year, and they're looking at keeping that program, that fire funded from different avenues. So a lot of rehab work. So it might be more actual seeding, grassland mixes and native forage mixes and stuff. So fall work rather than spring work. So we'll see. It might not be this fiscal year, it might not be next fiscal year, but the funds are still there. And that's working with Debbie Wood too. And then, ideally increasing the scope of the projects for Bonneville Power and BLM. And then keeping all of our other agency work. Like I said, went over Bureau Rec. The other thing is, you guys all know with state funding, which is what OWEB funds are, they're lottery funds. And a lot of those funds go to OWEB, the Watershed Enhancement Board. It's pretty significant. I think last I checked, it was 112 million for the biennium. But noxious weeds, ironically, for that program, make up 3 million for the biennium. And that 3 million has to be spread across 36 counties in the state. So this cycle, our odds are pretty good. It's the new cycle. They always over allocate, as in the state weed board always gives out a little bit too much the first round. The second round of grants, there's usually a little left over. But we're talking about 3 million through the state, so. And again, lottery dollars, they're not predictable as certain other funds. And then the other thing is there's no local funding source, right? Enterprise funded program, like some of the other departments here. So it's harder to benefit private citizens when you don't have those funds in certain situations. And that about checks out. I would say there's some invoices that will bump this up with 10%. We've got 25,000 for Wiley, and then we've got might have more for Title III actually.
Yeah, you do have some in January.
Yep, that's kind of what I thought. So that should be a little higher, and thankfully the BLM funds finally came through. So it's not ideal, but it's honestly, it's kind of what I expected. This is just a cyclic thing. Every administration, new priorities, you know, so it'll come back. Takes time.
So do you understand what typically do you do for BLM? Describe a project BLM would have having to, obviously weeds, but just give me an idea of.
So when they do, a good example would be the Crooked River. In the last probably 5-10 years, they've been updating all those rec sites. They've been improving the campsites. You know, they've got that fishing pier out there now. Castle Rock, they did all that paving and ADA access.
Okay.
So that's one of their big priorities is any rec site. They really like to keep those cleaned up. So another example would be Farno and Priest Hole. I don't know if you've been down there in a while. They've done a lot of work. I mean, they put in campsites, they've got road closures, they've built new roads. So they get certain funds, right, for this recreation funding and access. And then typically that's when I get phone calls say, hey, going forward, can we work on this? Can we target this? Sometimes it's fire related, and other times it's just general rangeland work. You know, if they have a project area, a focus area, maybe sage grouse, you know, that's a great example. They might get dollars that are wildlife dollars, but they can allocate that for weeds too. So it's really varied. But it covers everything from rangeland to rec to even roadside. I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
it does. Thank you.
Do we know what the new rules are gonna be for Title III? Are they gonna continue what they've done in the past, or are they gonna loosen that up at all?
As far as I've seen, they did not make any changes to the eligibility of what it's gonna be used for. It just continued the new dollar restrictions.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to talk to you. We don't talk about now, but about going forward with Juniper Canyon.
Yeah, yeah, and getting that firewise, making sure we're doing it under firewise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of public contact and it almost always leads to fire. And it's like, well, that's what we use our Title III for.
So speaking of fire, obviously we had a lot of acreage burnt in Crook County in the last couple of years, not this year, but prior years. Do you foresee any challenges with noxious weed control going forward with this burn scar coming back? Do you see challenges with you being able to manage the amount or the volume of weed control that might have to be done in these burn scars?
Yes and no. I would say the no is, sometimes things tend to take care of themselves and people reprioritize. So I mean, there's certain areas that I can kind of write off as a loss. That makes sense when it comes to rangeland. And a lot of times the way I see it and the way that the federal government has shifted that narrative is into containment, right? So instead of like, we're gonna do annual grass control on 5,000 acres, we're gonna do required lines. We're gonna maintain, you know, we're gonna cut juniper, we're gonna maintain these lines and have these barriers, so when it burns again, right, we have an efficient stop. And there's a lot of that work that I do more for the forest and BLM, right? I see that in Juniper Canyon. That's another one of those things where we could use these fire breaks, if you will, efficiently without having to have that high price tag of maintaining that entire land, you know? The idea of having a helicopter go over and spray 10,000 acres. I mean, that's great and all, but cost wise for an efficient product to make that happen, you know, when you're talking to have a guy do that, if you can get it down to $85 an acre, that's considered cheap and good luck. You know, 100 bucks an acre, 10,000 acres, you start doing the math and people look at that price tag and go, there's no way. So yeah, with the volume, like you're saying, I don't think it's feasible. But I think with Firewise and making your projects very efficient, right? Using that little bit of money to make these fire breaks or encourage people, you know. Yeah. And that is kind of the nature of the landscape scale, if you will, of fire.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
What?
Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, Hollis.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next up, we have the airport. And we have the airport.
Oh,
Airport management.
airport.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think we'll start out with key priorities and goal alignment. So providing an airport, providing and promoting a safe environment. Obviously, that's a huge priority for everybody. 2, grow and sustain revenue as to ensure growth and seize opportunities. One of the things that, you know, I do up there quite a bit is try to support new business. And, you know, we've grown a lot of business up there, but I think we're on the cusp of maybe something a little bit bigger. And so I'm constantly kind of working on, you know, the new opportunities that might bring some more people and some more jobs. Provide exceptional service to the airport and airport users and the public. Completed as planned projects, completed the runway reconstruction project. So that project finished up this last fall. So that was a complete reconstruction. We have 2 runways. That was a complete reconstruction of one of those runways. So that finished up in early September. We did come back and do some extra seating a little bit later on in November, but that project is wrapped up construction wise. We had the T hangar project. It was a 10-unit aircraft storage building. So that thing is complete. I think December 1st was the day that was complete. I have two full-time tenants in there right now. I was kind of hoping for more to jump in there, but I think it's going to take a little time, but we'll get that going. Currently in progress, project grant closeouts. We have March 2026
depends on what grant we're talking about right now. I think there's five total grants, one grant that's related to these projects. It still has to open and then close in the next number of months. So we have a lot of moving pieces on trying to close out these grants, get everything paid for. Planning FAA capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. So we've already had discussions with the FAA and the state. I think my hope is to get an official letter from them, in the next couple months on what that means. And that capital improvement plan is the project we have at the airport and what the FAA is willing to fund. So we'll have that locked up here pretty soon. And of course, lease out all the open T-hanger storage units in the next number of months. Beginning before June 30th, it's a design project for our runway 2911 overlay project, so an asphalt overlay project. So it's for obviously not the runway we just reconstructed, the other runway. And so that'll be I think about 2.5 inch asphalt overlay, and that will be slated for 2027. So this is just the design portion of that project. Planning for the next fiscal year, obviously that's our one big project. We've had a lot of projects in the past number of years. This is actually a big project, but after going through all the things that we've done, it seems like kind of a small one coming up. So that's what we have coming up. Challenges impacting core services. So the outlook is good to support current list of projects with FAA and Oregon Department of Aviation. It looks good now, but that's constantly changing year to year. But the way things have been happening in the last number of years, we've had really good opportunities come up in the FAA and the state funding to take care of these bigger projects. And the good thing is the timing, they've had the money, we were set and had the opportunities to receive the money for these big projects, and we got through really the big money projects. And so the airport's in a really awesome place infrastructure wise for the next 20 years. Need increased revenue to maintain facility and asphalt. So this, I think every department can talk about this, is just the money. We're always looking for a little bit more and wanting to grow a little bit more. One of the things, when I say maintain facility, I think we're good there. Asphalt, that's one of those things that we have a ton of asphalt out there, parking, taxiways, areas in the hangar area. A lot of that area is 20+ years old. We're starting to get, some cracking, spalling, and things like that. So we really need to look at how we're going to keep that maintained, and it's going to have to be replaced or overlaid at some point. And so we're in good shape right now, but we need to start figuring out how that's going to happen, how we're going to create the revenue to backfill those funds for that, for those projects coming up. Now this doesn't look super, but as I talked about, we have all these grants for these projects. So I don't have a number for you, but the lion's share of this amount spent is in those FAA and state grants that we're working to close out. Where I would say a lot of it is probably ready. It's just the process of the paperwork and get it to them, and then they review it, and then all the back and forth. And then the other part of that is our biggest revenue source at the airport is land leases, and those invoices just went out in December, and so we probably received a number of those so far, but it'll probably be towards the end of the month, first of next month, by the time we start seeing those come in. So we're kind of at the biggest stretch for the airport right now, and I think in the next 3 to 4 months, especially with the grants, we're gonna see big chunks of that squeeze down. This is gonna level up.
Land leases are annual.
Land leases are annual, correct?
When you overlay that other runway, it's a complete overlay.
Complete overlay. Yeah, so that runway was reconstructed about 20 years ago. And nothing is, we've had some asphalt maintenance, we filled some cracks and things like that, and it's in good shape.
You don't slurry seal or anything.
We haven't.
And on the other places by the hangars and stuff, you don't go in there and slurry seal or do any of that there.
Well, it's on, how bad is it? How much money do we have to, can we,
Sure.
can we postpone that? What's the priority? Right now, we're all in good shape. I just see these things starting to, just slowly creep up on us, right? So we want to be ahead of it. The runway project, so if you go out there right now and take a look at it, it's in good condition. But you're starting to see some cracks and some deteriorations, 20 years old. And some of the joints between the runway and taxiway and things like that are starting to separate. We have the opportunity based on the condition of the asphalt. FAA has the money, everything's kind of lined up to do this overlay, and then boom, we're in awesome shape again for another 20 years. So might as well grasp that opportunity and get it done right now. So some of the other areas, like the hangar areas, are not funded by FAA. So those are our own funds, and so that's where it gets a little bit more difficult.
In the past, we've been able to pick up some assistance from the state on patching, seal cracking.
Correct. So
Things of that nature.
So they have the PMP program. So about typically every other year, sometimes it's been delayed. So they actually send somebody out every other year, an engineer, and they take a look at all our asphalt, all the asphalt that falls under the FAA's jurisdiction, I guess, which would be taxiways and runways. And so they constantly monitor that. So they have an engineer come out, evaluate it, and usually the following year they'll come out and help us with some crack sealing and patching and those things. So we've been able to keep ahead of the game that way. But they're which is a majority of the airport. But when we get into other areas such as like the hangar area, that they don't cover that cost-wise. But 3 years ago, we went in and did, actually for 2 years in a row, we kind of stepped it. 2 years, we did some crack sealing in that area and kind of got it back up and did some patching and kind of got it back up to a good level. But which is something that we're going to look at in the future that we won't be able to get state funding for those small areas. One last thing, so on that state work, they're typically covering a large portion of it. I mean, not all that they cover, anywhere between 80 and 90%, depending on the year. So we still have to come up with a little bit, but it's pretty small compared to the work that they've done, and they've done an awesome job keeping supporting us and keeping everything together.
Are the new hangars on a 1-year lease as well, or is that month to month on your new hangars?
So they're month to month.
They are month to month.
Yes.
And those aren't considered land leases, right? They're just leasing the space.
Just leasing the space.
And what's one unit rent for monthly?
The typical unit, which is 7 of the units are one size, and those are $500 a month.
Okay.
And the next size up, which is a little bit bigger, is $530, and then we have 2 larger ones at $650 a month.
Is there any room for expansion past these 10?
Yes, actually, we have just right next to that, we have the area set up for to do a whole nother row.
Another block of 10.
Another block of 10.
Matching.
Correct.
Kelly, are you the one that has to write all these grant applications, and or do you have help with them?
Some of them. Now, some of the big ones a number of years ago, like Connect Oregon, I did that. I've done a couple of those. It's pretty ominous. Luckily with the FAA grants, it's more of just communication, and when we get back to like I talked about, the capital improvement plan, having those discussions and getting us on the board. And so we know that I guess the competitive process of that is more in the discussion, getting your project on the capital improvement plan. When it comes to the actual grant, it's big and kind of ominous, but it's kind of the same thing. And then we're required to have airport consultants to do our design and all these jobs, right? So they work with the FAA all the time, and so they're digesting those all day long. So they support us in putting those together, and then also the closeouts also. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jackie Davis with the landfill is next.
Do we save the best for last? It's fine.
Jackie Davis, the landfill. Our key priorities are to maintain environmental compliance. That allows us to keep your landfill open and also alleviate some illegal dumping activity and protect water and air quality. Operational and fiscal efficiency, making sure we're doing all of our operations as cheap as possible, so dumping fees are low to the public. And then education and community outreach. This is important to allow the community to know what recycling options become available, what free events we have, so they can take the opportunity to participate in those. Projects completed as planned. July 1st, we were required to implement the Recycling Modernization Act. We did that successfully. We also chose to become a part of the pilot program for Recycle on Oregon. It's in addition to the Recycling Modernization Act, it just allows us to accept even more material. Down the road, it will be required to be provided in every county. We were just approached and asked if we wanted to be part of the pilot program, so we chose to do that. It also gives us a little bit more chance for some increased revenue for that recycled material. We had budgeted for some asphalt rebuild around our inbound scales in our untarping area. We were allowed to do this in-house with the road department. So they did it free labor. We just paid for the cost of materials. It allowed their staff to do some more training in that area, and also gave us the benefit of the asphalt work that was done. We held 4 free events for the public: free appliance day, free yard every day, and 2 household hazardous waste events. We extended the agreement with Muck Septic for an additional year. They are the contracted company that is hauling the septic waste from our facility down to the city of Prineville's wastewater treatment plant. So extended that for another year. We completed all our annual trainings so far: hearing exams, asbestos awareness. There's a number of those that are required for the landfill. We completed those. This bottom one was not something that was planned, but we had a transmission go out in our 735 articulating rock truck. But we were able to get that work done under warranty, so we only paid for transportation on that piece of equipment, 2 feeders in the back. So currently in progress, the water truck. We purchased that in 2024, like March of 2024. We received the water truck December of 2025, and it has been sitting at OMCO ever since, waiting to get the tank fabricated. So we're hoping to get that July through October sometime. We'd really like to have that, so we're hoping to get that done. We also budgeted for some west perimeter fencing along Westwood. Part of our permit requires us to be fully enclosed, so we're doing that work. We also budgeted to have a company do that work for us, and we've chosen to do that in-house to save on funds, so the operators are working on that right now. We're working on another renewal of our bird deprivation permit to help with the bird activity at the landfill. Solid waste franchise agreement, county is currently working on that, and along with Republic Services, I'm just kind of sitting in on those conversations to make sure that the permits, what's required in the permits and operations plan are taken into consideration. We are currently also working on the extension with the city of Prineville on that septic side of things, also to accept the waste into their wastewater treatment plant. They're set to go to city council tonight to get that approved, and we have it on the agenda for tomorrow morning for the commissioners to take a look at. And then I am currently working on updating the Plina transfer station operations plan as well. We are looking at purchasing a used sweeper and a used service truck. The backup power, we're switching gears on that. I missed the deadline to take that off of this slide, so we're kind of switching gears on that one. IT improvements. IT is installed a rack in our conference room right now. Our equipment is in our shop office. It's a very dirty environment. That was convenient at the time it was installed, so they're working on getting that moved through the wall into our conference area, and also upgrading our security camera software. And then we are going to be holding 2 events before June 30th, Free Yard Debris Day and Free Appliance Day. Planning for next fiscal year, we will have another household hazardous waste free event for the public. The road department has graciously offered again to do the labor on some additional asphalt work around our outbound scales and the ramp to our transfer station. We need to purchase a compactor. Along with the update to the Plina transfer station operations plan, we will be updating their current. We are going to be updating the landfill operations and permit as well. We've been in talks with our DEQ permit holder on a partial closure of our C&D cell, our construction cell 3. It's a pretty extensive process. We have to get some design work done and some surveying, so we're going to be working on that. That will help us take that off of our financial assurance, that part that we get closed. We are beginning to site for a potential new asbestos pit or an extension of the current one. We have some survey work being done by Armstrong Surveying to make sure we have just the right amount of how much life we have left. We're a little short of what we thought, so some of the elevations we only have like 3 more feet to go. So depending on what kind of projects come in is how short of a life we have. That one's just, we don't really know exactly, but we're working on that. And then we do have a potential RFP in place for the methane gas system. This was created by Jerry Friesen, our landfill engineer, as part of our solid waste management plan. It's the same type of RFP he created for Deschutes County. So it is part of that plan, ready to go if we need to. So if we, for some reason, do not meet the methane testing requirements, that's set, ready to go. We would put that out if we need to, so. Challenges impacting core services as Oregon moves to green and zero waste. They push additional programs on us, additional recycling, reuse programs, more environmental testing. So of course, trying to find funds and additional labor to get those projects done are difficult. Rising operational costs, like I'm sure you've heard from all the departments, parts, labor, wages, fuel, engineering firms, all of those that we outsource, those are all have rising costs as well. So it's a challenge to try and keep it low to the public to utilize our facility. Our budget, we're sitting pretty good at 54%. we are hitting our slow season. We hope to be a little bit higher than that. We had, an unexpected loss of revenue with Republic Services, so that kind of brought that number down a little bit for us. 33% spent. I try to hold a pretty conservative budget in the first half of the fiscal year. We never know when a piece of equipment will go down or anything like that. So we are halfway through the year, so we're gonna start looking at utilizing some of those capital funds that we have for some equipment purchases. So you'll see that number go up the second half. Any questions?
Can you detail more information, give a little bit more flavor to the loss of revenue from Republic Services and what you may expect going forward?
So Republic Services requested a rate increase that we weren't able to get through in time. So to help cover some of their operational costs for our rate increase that we did at $7 a ton. They couldn't pass that on to their customers and their operational side of things. So the Board of Commissioners, we agreed with them in Republic Services to do 3 months at the old rate. So we were expecting to have 3 months of that revenue at $69 a ton, and we only charged them $52 a ton. So
it's nothing going forward there.
no.
Question about the extension on the agreement for the city of Prineville. I know it was a temporary agreement, a year ago or 6 months ago, whenever it was we talked about it. Are they charging us for the disposal of the waste? Is in this new proposal, and is this for a 12-month period?
When they started this temporary plan, they needed 7 cents a gallon.
Okay,
We do pay Muck Septic 6 cents a gallon, and we retain 3.5 cents a gallon. So that is all charged to the septic companies as they come in. We collect those funds, and then through a reporting system, then we, the county pays City of Prineville in Muck Septic.
okay.
They haven't raised their rates or anything. They've held that price.
And are we seeking a 12-month agreement with the city?
Yeah, just a one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
All right, well, I think that concludes our mid-year presentations. Tomorrow we have goal setting, tomorrow afternoon. I think we heard some common themes that we'll maybe take a little bit more of a dive into tomorrow as we discuss goal setting, but you know, a couple of them that stood out: staffing, increased costs, funding sources, are some of the challenges that folks are facing. We also heard about, you know, significant accomplishments already this fiscal year with the TSP being completed in community development, you know, runway at the airport. I could go on with the number of things that have been accomplished successfully already this fiscal year. And we heard about some upcoming opportunities and some projects that are getting near to completion, including software upgrades with HRIS and ERP, and you know, there was a lot of information shared over the last couple of days. So as we start to think about goal setting tomorrow, just to kind of rehash it, I just want to, as we process kind of what we've heard over the last couple of days, some questions that I think might help our conversation tomorrow as we kick off goal setting, just to kind of rehash them. Do the current goals continue to represent the most critical needs and priorities for Crook County, given changes in community expectations, economic conditions, and service demands? What challenges, barriers, operational, staffing, fiscal, regulatory have most impacted progress toward existing goals? And how might our priorities need to shift as a result? Are there cross-departmental issues, staffing, facilities, technology, unfunded mandates requiring greater emphasis in next year's goals? How effectively do our current goals guide decision-making on service levels and new initiatives? Do we need clear definitions or accountability measures? What emerging risks or opportunities, such as property tax revenue changes or community growth, should we be proactively reflecting in the board's goals and priorities? And lastly, given our experiences this year, should any goal be retired, consolidated, or elevated as part of an updated strategic framework. So just some questions to kind of ponder, and think about before we have our goal setting conversation tomorrow afternoon. I'm happy to answer any questions before we conclude this morning.
I have just two things just for consideration, since we're not part of the goal setting, right? That's a meeting with the commissioners, but after listening to the presentations, some things that I think should be, or I would like to see considered for goals. One is an overarching asset management platform for the county. I would discourage having the sheriff's department go out and find something independent that works well for the sheriff's department, when it seems like it's a bigger fish to fry, if you will. And I think that all of the county resources could leverage an enterprise-wide asset management platform versus getting something that works well for the sheriff's department specifically. So I'd like that taken into consideration if you could. And then also PCI compliance, payment card compliance, is core and fundamental to the security of all the members of the community that leverage the resources of the county that use credit card transactions, which we all do, whether it's buying a permit, going to the dump, paying our property taxes, whatever that may be, that transaction may be. I think there is inherent risk to the county by not having a more comprehensive PCI strategy that should be taken into account as a priority. Lastly, and this is more of a sidebar, but there was a little concern by myself with the public meeting guidelines, where they were talking about the challenges with the public meeting and the changes that's brought about for conducting public meetings. I know as part of the budget committee, we're going to have to chair those meetings. And so potentially creating a guideline that we can follow. So as we're chairing meetings, we can conduct those meetings following these guidelines, or at least the best of our ability to follow the guidelines.
I think there's specific state of Oregon laws that we fall under that we have to follow, and obviously that was brought to our attention by certain media folks repetitively last year, but
yeah, I think we're in a much better place than we were just even a few months ago of having checklists and situations, but I think that's a fair request to, we can roll out what the rules and regulations are.
yes, with all of, whether it's the Fair Board Committee or us or whoever, I think just making sure that at least the chair is familiar with that. Even obviously, with a kind of a push and a pull through several public entities over the course of the last year with that, but
the county has put together a pretty detailed public meetings workflow for staff to take into account. We have some good resources through the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. They have regular trainings available for, whether you're an elected commissioner or you're a volunteer board member who's, responsible for maintaining compliance. So there are a lot of resources, and we can make sure that we make those available not only to the budget committee, but all of our.
To Scott's point, I don't think that as a volunteer, I want to go take advantage of the resources the state of Oregon has made available, but I don't have the bandwidth, but a cheat sheet for the chair would, of any,
an outline
volunteer committee would certainly be.
I'm happy to subscribe the checklist too. We have the checklist.
I mean, a lot of the guidelines are things that staff members make sure are happening, like how long the meeting has been noticed, where it's noticed. So the budget committee, you're right, does have very specific rules, how long is the hearing published in the newspaper, or can it be newspaper and online? Is it the newspaper twice? Things like that, those little detail things are not something that you personally have to worry about. But, there are specific aspects for the budget committee. Let's just keep that example because that's, who we are. And so that is why we make sure that we send out materials to you, just, hey, heads up, here's what it means to serve on the budget committee. That way you specifically know what's relevant to you as a citizen member. And so those are the aspects. We've tried to cover those bases with you, just so you know what's expected, so that you're not, at risk of some of the scrutiny. So we have tried those measures. I don't know if you feel like that's given you enough to go off of.
It's helpful. My concern was not just specifically about what our role is as members of the budget committee, but how to actually chair a meeting, right?
I see.
The rules associated with starting a meeting, having a motion, approving a motion, adjourning a meeting, taking a vote, Emmerich, aye. Right? Are there different rules that we need to follow as we're just holding a meeting that we need to adhere to?
We can make sure you guys feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not our problem, it's the chair. It's his problem.
And you can go on Oregon Ethics and take, like we say, they have online stuff.
Okay.
And that really helps.
Thank you.
You might go to sleep, but during once you wake up. But
I could use a good nap. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Scott.
think your point is very well taken, and the particularly that you made previously. Very well.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody's time, and look forward to continuing the conversation tomorrow.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I'm right, guy.
Barney,
Proper aye.